Hi guys, we are back, and look who we have got joining us this week. The main man. You know, there are people on our channel, Logan, that accuse you of witchcraft. Can you believe that?
Yeah, man. Well, actually, it would be warlock. It'd be more like warlock, but I'll take the title. It's all good.
They're just jealous. They're just jealous of your hair.
Yeah, that's my hair, man. Yeah, I ain't telling you what gel I use, so you can forget it, audience.
Oh, okay. Well, some of our guys have been asking us to crank it up to the next level.
Yeah.
And what better way to crank it up to the next level than with the main man, Mr. Logan Jason.
Appreciate it, man. You guys are awesome, man. I love what you and Harry are doing. So keep up the great work.
We love what you're doing, bro.
Yeah.
We promote you, or we mention your channel in most of our podcasts.
Thank you so much for the love. Yeah.
Decode your reality.
Yeah.
And the one that I think I push the most is your how to decode yourself. Because when I did that, and I only actually needed to go down 2 or 3 layers of the onion to be absolutely blown away.
Yeah.
You know, with the connections that I found looking back upon, you know, when I look back upon my life, with the birth dates, my date of birth, my address that I grew up at when I was a kid, even the phone number, Logan, even the family phone number. I'm like, you can't make this shit up.
Yeah.
Well, we've been talking so long about how everything is already detailed, scripted out, written out. And you always talk about how you could never have done this with any supercomputer or anything like that. It's just already done. Yeah. It's already scripted, it's already written out. And, you know, we've talked about gematria, but you've taken it to so many other levels using the other, like the periodic table and all the, and the pi and the phi and all that. It just, how can you disprove something like that? And there's probably more layers that we don't even know about. Maybe you just haven't gotten to them yet.
Yeah, there are. I'm actually, so the website that I use to use the breakdown of pi, which is called Sabidium.com, right? That website actually allows you to not only look at where the numbers are located in the string of pi, but it also allows you to look into the golden ratio as well in phi. So now I'm looking at that, and then you can also look at the square root of 2, and that's the cube. And that these are layers that obviously are pretty much untapped. But when you start looking at that, man, woo, you know, and I have actually an upcoming decode called the Sun Devil. I'm probably going to shoot that. I may shoot that tonight. And that one is on, of course, the sun being the devil, being the God and the devil of this reality. And that is involving the golden ratio. So I'm going to be including some of the numbers that are located in that string of the golden ratio. And that is just another tack on to just put the more nail in the coffin that, yeah, man could never code anything like this. Man codes stuff for sure. We do it. But the voice in our head that runs our reality, that's kind of the boss, as we all know now, as we're all decoding. And you guys are finding that out, you know, especially through these suckers right here. This is such an important deck of playing cards beyond the scope of just playing, you know, old maid and go fish and poker and blackjack. I mean, these are special cards, you know, in the form of a square, you know, so they're just subtleties that most people really wouldn't pay attention to. And then the 4 elements are in here as well, the fire, air, water, and earth, which is what, you know, which is where we all come from. So,
you know what, it's interesting that in Chinese astrology, they consider wood to be an element.
Yeah. Yep. And of course, metal.
Yeah.
So you get the 5. Yeah. Yep. Yeah, Chinese is awesome. I love Chinese. I mean, Nigel, I was showing you some of the tiger, you know, the 3rd Chinese zodiac sign tied to Gemini and tied to Pi, because it's the 3rd house of Chinese astrology is the tiger. And of course, what was my school mascot? The freaking tiger. You know, my parents both worked in the prison system. Gemini is the prison bars. And here I am showing the card that I have as a birth card being the card of being trapped and limited. I mean, how do you wrap your mind around something like that? And then, you know, is there a supercomputer running me? Because that's what some people think, you know.
Well, it's how, you know, the same as you explained on one of your previous podcasts, that, you know, your name comes up as Logan Jason, but your surname's Payette.
Yep.
And what do you do? You work with pie. I mean, again, you can't make this up.
That's right.
He's not a baker. It's not that kind of pie.
No. Yeah. When I was doing my own decode, and I found that I'm connected to the number 19, which is the sun card, as you know, in the tarot. My birthday being the 1st of October, which is 9 months and 1 day into the year, which is the reverse of 19. But what I didn't realize is that from my birthday to December the 31st is 91 days. 91 days remaining in the year. So there's another 19 connection. It just keeps going and going and going and going and going. It's just never ending.
Well, you know, this is your birth card. The October, all of you that are born on October 1st, this is your birth card 34, and it's tied to the Queen of Spades as well. That's your other card. That's your handler card, as I like to call it. But any of the 8s out there, like I'm the 8 of Spades, and so you're Nigel, you're the 8 of Diamonds. Harry, what's your birthday? I want to look it up. I think he had told me, but just a month.
No, May 20.
Oh, you're Taurus. Oh, so you're Queen Clubs. Okay, nice. Okay, well do you guys follow Do you follow Santos Bonacci and his stuff, right?
Yeah, for a long time.
He's the Queen. He's the Queen Clubs. This is your birth card.
You know what? It just something's just hit me. You just told me that the my birth card, the 8 of Diamonds, and 8 is a strong connection, because in Chaldean, my first name's 8, my first and second name's 8, my full name's 8. So there's a connection. I'm just trying. Oh, here it is. You just said the 34th card, which is 3 and 4 is 7, right? Now, yesterday on my way home from work, I needed to call at the supermarket. I'm not sure if you can see that, if it'll focus, but the amount came to 77.70, right? 3 sevens. And then when I got home and I turned on, I put on YouTube, and I was like, one of Enter the Stars videos came up. So I clicked on that. And at the time I clicked on it, it got 777 thumbs up.
I love it.
You can't make this shit up, bro.
Jackpot. Well, I mean, what's interesting about your card, Nige, is that, and I have this coming out in the Sun Devil, in the number 28, of course, is tied to the word Lucifer, tied to the word architect, and it's in the string of pi. It occupies digits 33 and 34, 28, 33, and 34, which is 67. 67 is the 19th prime number. That's the sun, and that's how much connected you are to the sun. And remember, we have 33. Some people have 34 vertebrae that go up the back of the spine, and that's the Kundalini. Kundalini equals 28. So we know that this reality, you can break it down any way you want, but it's the number. That's why I favor the Chaldean. I think it's the top dog, because it uses the numbers 1 through 8. It bases itself off of phonetics, and it's far superior to any of the other ones. Any good numerologist, anyway, will always use Chaldean over the Pythagorean, the 1 through 9. Not saying that those don't have any merit or any kind of truth to them, because they do, and you should be decoding everything about yourself with all these ciphers. So.
Well, the 33, I mean, again, you're looking at duality. You often talk about it being the temperature 33 degrees Fahrenheit is the point that ice speak that turns back to water, which kind of has got an allegorical connection to what we refer to waking up, you know, perhaps for want of a better phrase. But I came across something yesterday in the Bible, and it was in Colossians, and it's Colossians 3:3. Right, again, you can't make this up. And in Colossians 3:3, it actually says you are dead. You are dead. In other words, our body, you know, what we are, our avatar, and this all connects back to the. I don't want to go down that rabbit hole today, but it all connects back to the straw man. You know, you when you're born, essentially you're lost at sea and all that kind of thing. So you are dead, a dead entity. We did a podcast a few months ago talking about the mark of the beast being the money, the 666 being the money. We traced it all the way back to 1666, the Great Fire of London, the plague in 665, and so on and so forth. But when you look at it from another perspective, if you are dead, you can't buy or sell without the mark of the beast, and the mark of the beast is your name.
Yeah,
it has to be your name.
Well, like we said earlier, Nigel, it's the all caps name that you have to buy with. And when in that birthing process, when the doctor cuts, or if the father cuts the umbilical cord, you lose the umbilical cord, the caul, and the placenta. Those all three are collected by the organization, and then some of it's shipped to, they say, to the Vatican, which everything there is organized for your ability to be that straw man that can do deals.
Well, I guess the cash idea, the currency idea that you can't buy or sell without, the mark of the beast. I mean, that kind of makes sense because you can't buy or sell without it. But in the system, you can't even operate in the system without your name, right? You can't go and get a job. You can't get a bank account. You can't get a passport. You can't do anything without the mark of the beast. So I think if we look at it as being currency on one level, and then go down like Logan always does, let's dig the hole a bit deeper, and let's go down to a deeper level. Then what's your name? You got the mark of your forehead. You know your name, right? You write your name. You sign your name. Right hand and forehead. So again, it's just another connection. What do you think, Muggy?
Well, name equals 15 in numerology, and that's a match of the devil card. It's a match of ID and the identity. Can I see your ID, please? What's your identity? Let me see your ID card. And that just traces all the way back to the number 5. 5 in numerology is our identity. In astrology, the 5th house in Western is the lion, which is ruled by the sun. And in the Chinese, it's the dragon, which is the most revered animal in all of Chinese culture. So that's the boss. And then we're the little boss's puppets on strings. And we are little sun devils. That's why I say be the best little devil you can be down here.
Yeah, the dragon, the Chinese dragon, breathes fire, right? Well, it's the sun. The dragon is the sun.
It's the sun.
It's that simple.
Yep.
And when you talk about 5, I mean, you look at 1.61, in the being the phi. Well, phonetically, 5, PHIVE. It's phonetically, it's there. The FI or the PHI. So
those resonate connected. Yeah, they resonate.
Yeah. Well, the phi, it's interesting because the string of phi, when and I'm going to be bringing this more out in future decodes, but that's, basing it off of 1.6. And then you have pi, which is 3.1. So you have 1 and 3, and the only number missing is that number 2. And then you get into the square roots, and that fills in that gap. And that's the lower chakras, the root, the sacral, and the solar plexus. And then you got the heart. And, if you take elements 1 through 36 and line them up with the chakras, it ends at that heart chakra. And if you add 1 through 36, it equals 666. So that is hell. That is, that's the great beast. That is the soul below. And when you really look at the light spectrum, guys, it tells a really massive story in all this reality, because when light enters into the black sun, your little devil in your eye right there, when light comes in, and that's visible light, it actually enters in through the color of what's on a tennis ball, that lime green color. That's the color that we first see in the cone when light enters in there, and then it splits off. And that's where you get the green twin action and that element praseodymium, the 59th element, which is tied to the game of life. The words, the game of life is 59. Contract with God is 59. So we know, and 59 reduces to 14, which is 3.14 entering pi, and then 14 it reduces down to 5, and you become man, which is 5, and that's the pentagram, which is that's why the pentagon is in the shape of a pentagram, because it's so relevant to mankind.
You know how in your How to Decode Yourself video, you say to take your birth date, go back 161 days, 1.61, and go forward 161 days and write the dates down, right? And of course, then you take into account the leap year as well. And then this is for the benefit of the guys that haven't watched that yet. And then what you do is you write down what what that date equates to. Like this is the 70th day of the year or the 150th day of the year or whatever. And then you add those three numbers up, right? Yep. Well, guess what, Logan? When I did mine, I added up the three numbers and it came to 457. You add those three numbers up, you get 16. You add the extra 3 days for leap year and you get 460, which is 10, which is 1. So when I did my own, it actually reduced down to 161. having gone back 161 days, gone forward 161 days. Yeah. And the results I get was a 16 and a 10. 161. You can't make this up, bro.
Yeah. Well, you got the 101 birthday anyway. You got the portal, the 101. Anytime it would like, hey, let me tell you the 101 on that, like the basic 101 understanding. The 101 is the two pillars, as you guys know, it's the two pillars in the portal, the round going in, and that in the string of pi, that is the 0 is at 800 and the 853rd decimal digit. If you look at 853, it's 88. So 88. It's tied to architect. Yeah. So it's tied to architect, tied to radium and the element Ra's element. So
when I first came to China to teach English, what they normally do is they have accommodation on campus. And guess what? My dorm, my room was, it was 101.
You're in the Matrix, dude. That's Neo's room.
Oh, bro, mate, it was insane. 101. No, I mean, this is back in end of 2014. So before I was quote unquote awoke, but yeah, 101. I'm like, wow, insane.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it just tells you so people will be like, well, how do I make any of this? Like, what does it mean? You got to keep digging and bringing in layers and connecting them. And as I said, I mean, what's your school mascot? What's the name of your school? What's the address of the school you went to? What's the phone number? If they still have the same phone number, add up those digits. What's your total digit of the total addition of your phone number now? Your cell phone, past cell phones, all these things are part, what kind of car, dude, I mean, my parents, they had, when I was growing up, they had a Pontiac Phoenix as one of their cars, 1978. Now I have Phoenixes all of them. I got fire. I literally have the Phoenix rising up and coming up and fighting a dragon. And this is all samurai in Japan. And my latitude, longitude of my birth is linked to Japan. And, my birth name is Jason. Actually, that's my birth certificate name is Jason, Ja-sun, right? And Japan. And yeah, I mean, it's like my parents had a freaking Pontiac Phoenix, What is that? Oh, you got one of those dragon.
Dragon.
Nice. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's just, you can't. So it's like when you really start to understand all the layers of your reality and start to bring them all and then figure out what their birth cards are. And, that's really important. Like, what are your parents' birth cards? What are their, because there's, your ego and spirit cards and there's karma cards, but what are your two parents' cards? And then, try to bring that into you. And if you have any siblings, and it's all part of your whole reality and, your script, you being the avatar that you are, it just keeps going, dude. It's crazy. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's crazy. So you gotta have fun with it.
The more you look, the more you find.
Yep.
And I know that kind of sounds like an oxymoron, but what I kind of mean is that the more you look, the more you discover something. That discovery will lead you to another discovery that you didn't expect. You know what I mean? So, I strongly recommend that. If the subscribers on our channel don't watch any of your videos apart from how to decode yourself, then I think that's probably the most important video you've ever done. And I don't mean that in any detrimental way to the others, but it's a personal thing. It's something that people can go and watch and study. It's just short of an hour, guys. It's 58 minutes.
It's an hour and 5 minutes, actually.
Oh, is it?
An hour and 5 minutes, and great architect of the universe equals 105 in numerology.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and I didn't plan that, man. April 10th, I came out with that video last year. Didn't plan it. I mean, if you go look at the numbers, what are the day on the calendar? It's just insane how I'm being controlled remotely. And I'm totally fine. I've totally accepted that because there's nothing I can do about it. I mean, I just find the code, as you said, Nigel. So you keep digging, you keep finding, and then you'll get these people, well, you'll find what you're looking for. Well, that is that oxymoron, right? but take the oxy away. Stop being a moron, because that is moronic talk. What really is the reality is that we're being controlled by our script. And we may have free will. I think we have a little bit of free will to play around, like what you're going to choose for dinner, what kind of shoes you're going to buy, what kind of deck of cards you're going to buy. But other than that, if you deviate away from your script, something eventful will happen in your life that's going to push you right on course. You'll be offered a job. Maybe you'll change careers. You know, some girl or guy will pop into your life. Oh my God, I was not even expecting that person to pop into my life. Yeah, that's because they were supposed to pop into your life.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the free will aspect of it. I mean, Harry and I have spoke about it, many times. I mean, if you got a horse in a 1 acre field, and in the middle of that field is a tree, and you tie the horse to that tree, but the horse can reach the parameters or the perimeter fence. He thinks he's got free will. He can go anywhere.
Yeah.
He can't go outside he can't cross the boundary. He can't go over the fence, but he doesn't want to. He's quite happy in his 1 acre field, and he can go anywhere within that field. So he believes that he's got free will and can go anywhere.
That's right.
And that's what I see the lead. As you and I were speaking about the other day, you talk about the lead to gold. Well, lead, L-E-A-D. I mean, dogs lead, L-E-A-D.
Yep.
You know what I mean? It's all connected. It's all connected. It's actually quite mind blowing. In the beginning,
it really is.
And from an alchemical position, you look at lead to gold. What has to happen before it can become gold? It has to become silver. And what do we see as silver? The moon.
Moony.
The moon is the silver.
Yep.
So, and then of course we had that little debate: is the moon male or female? And I think we've come to the conclusion that it's probably hermaphroditic. These two bodies can alternate back and forth.
It's totally androgynous. It has to be. But yeah, that's a great point, Harry. Is that I'm changing my perspective because I have to, and I'm contradicting myself constantly because I have to. Right? I keep digging. But as you guys know, and those that watch my stuff, I came out with 42 Decoded. I think is the first time I showed the sun, the moon, and the earth as the Trinity and the incarnation process. Well, just last night, man, I had some truth bombs dropped on me from my higher self, and it's through the word. I was watching this movie. This is why it's important for those of you watching. It's so important. If you have a movie pop into your mind, you should watch that movie. If you have a song, you should decode the song. And here's a perfect example. Okay, perfect example. So this movie by Clint Eastwood called $1 Million Baby. You guys ever see it?
Oh yeah, just a few months ago I saw it. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, with Hilary Swank, right? So it popped in my head, and I'm like, whatever. So I started watching the movie, and the nugget I got out of that, guys, was this word cooperation. Okay, yeah. That was the word. That was so far. I'm on pause right now, right? But cooperation. So I started to decode that, and the cooperation is now leading to you cooperating with the moon. The cooperation is the earth and the moon, and it's very possible now that we actually go to the moon first. And the moon, of course, the moon is known as the sin god, which would be Jesus. Jesus got baptized. It's all about water. And that washes away your sins to prepare you to go back to the sun. And then the sun, when the sun rises, it shines its light. And that light is the incarnation. That's the light bringer, bringing you back to earth and incarnating you back into the cycle of life, right? I had it the other way around.
That's where we drink from the river Lethe and forget everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Jesus is tied to the moon. And of course, the Vatican has the silver and gold keys on it. And that's the moon and the sun. And of course, the Pope wears all white. And of course, he's eating the Eucharist. He's drinking the blood. He's eating the bread. That's all Christ. And so I can't remember what video I had done, but I had said a while back, I said, Jesus is the moon. And I got so much slack for it, right? I had thrown that out there that Jesus ain't the sun. He's the moon. Right. And I'm leaning towards that because, it would make sense that think about, like, how would you dupe people? in this reality. You would give them a story that it would be kind of like undupable. Like people are just falling for it left and like, oh, Jesus is my savior. He's the most beautiful energy and the story's so perfect and there's no blemishes. And of course I would want to follow that because what's the alternative? I got this asshole devil over here. I don't want to go follow that dude. So the alternative is, the choice is, and that's the whole trap is being given that red pill, blue pill trap. I feel it's a trap, which is when I came out with the Christ battery and the flux capacitor, I showed that that's what it is. It's a trap, I feel, anyway, as beautiful as the story is. And so that's kind of where I'm at right now, but it's the cooperation and it's between the earth, the moon, and the sun. But it looks like the cooperation is between earth and the moon. And the moon, of course, I think is more feminine than it is masculine because you can go out in the moon, ain't going to burn you. But the sun, that sucker will burn you if you stay out there too long.
We kind of come into the same conclusion, but what we've got to remember is that this whole construct is fake. It's artificial. It's a copy, right? I saw something yesterday on Wayne's channel. He was reading from a book and it said the Gnostics called the demiurge a liar and a plagiarizer. Well, what's a plagiarizer? Someone who copies and pastes, right? So this whole thing is artificial. That means the sun is artificial. It's artificial light. We think of it as being natural light, but if it's artificial light, when it gets dark at night and we put our lights on, that's artificial light. So the whole thing is artificial light, and yet they tell us go into the light. Jesus is the light of the world and Lucifer's the light bringer. It's all one and the same, bro. It's just the duality, or the polarity, whatever you want to call it. You take a battery, it's one battery, but it's got a positive and a negative. Yeah. It's 1 and 1 is 1 essentially. Yeah, the whole sun, earth, moon thing, that's the 1937-46 that we all talk about in the string of pi. Yeah, it's the constant recycle trap. Yeah.
Yep. Well, but then the other part is what Logan mentioned. It's a trap because they're forcing you in to make those two option choices: the left or the right, the Republican, the Democrat, the black, the white, the blue, and the red. They force you, and like you said, Logan, they paint the picture of the Jesus character to be so beautiful and so nice, and then the demiurge or the Luciferian or the satanic one is so ugly. What's everyone going to gravitate to? I'd say 95% are going to gravitate to the beautiful one.
Absolutely.
It's still a trap because they get you into the system and you get stuck in the recycle.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, we've spoken about this at length as well. If you look at the proverbial serpent in the garden, he was the good guy. Yeah, the Satan, the Lucifer, was the good guy because he came and told Adam and Eve, "What are you talking about? Go and eat from the tree of knowledge, the good and evil." And then the demiurge said, "Oh, look, they have become like us to know good and evil." So the serpent, the Lucifer in the Garden of Eden, was actually the good guy who was basically trying to wake up, quote unquote, mankind, so they could see what had actually been done to them.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, serpent equals 32 in numerology. So it's kind of interesting. Also, we got our meeting set. It'll end in 10 minutes. So we'll just have to probably do another one. But anyway,
yeah, okay.
Serpent is 32. I mean, the Jesuit symbol has 32 sun rays all the way around it. And that's the element germanium, which has an atomic weight of 72, talking about the 72 angels and demons. If you study the Jesuit, if you study the Society of Jesus, it's really interesting because it has such a bad rap. And I don't take anything away from perhaps the bad rap that they have and what they are doing on the world stage. I don't personally know any of that stuff. We just go on stories, right? But if you study Ignatius of Loyola and all the way back to, I think, the 1400s, they had a monastery, if you will, a retreat that you'd go to for like 30 or 60 days. And they taught you that there were angels and demons down here in this reality pulling at your strings at all times, and you're feeding it. And it's that wolf scenario. Which wolf are you going to feed? And so we know that story invested into the stories of all religions and stuff like that. They all tell the same thing. It's duality down here, and it is survival of the fittest. If you study nature, man, I mean, I've been here in Mexico now over a year, and I've studied a lot of nature, and I see the predators, I see the prey, and that's what it's in. You go into the microbiology world. Most people don't go into the microbiology world where you got single cell organisms. There's predator prey down there, man. These things aren't sinning. These things didn't partake in eating any stupid apple or anything like that. That is the allegories are so amazing, but ignorance is the greatest storyteller of them all. So,
oh yeah, without a doubt.
Hey, we also identified that soccer ball. I don't know if you ever saw that one, but the soccer ball has 32 patches that it's comprised.
Oh, it has 32. Okay.
32 patches. 12 are 20 are pentagons and 12 are hexagons.
Yep.
Or vice versa. I can't remember. But that showed me that we may live on a plane of those of that soccer ball. Maybe one of those planes, and maybe the pentagram, or maybe one of the hexagons.
No, I think it would be the black one, because then you're surrounded by the white. The symbolic of the ice.
Yeah, it's the hex. Yeah. The hexagons are the white ones, which are the 6-sided, and that's the beehive, and we serve the queen bee. The queen bee is Earth, right? And then you have the pentagons, which is man, the pentagon, and that's the black, and that's what we are, because we're the little devils, and we don't give off any light. I mean, thermal imaging, yes, but if we all go in a black room, turn the lights out, we ain't seeing one another. We don't give off any visible light, so we are black. Yeah, close your eyes. It's all black. We come from the black.
Well, the light is internal, right? I mean,
absolutely.
We showed something. I think, Harry, didn't we include the Truman Show? Yes. One of the slides in the Truman Show.
Yeah.
When he goes up the stairs and the door opens behind him and it's all black.
Yep.
All black.
And he does the cross.
Yeah.
He does the cross when he does it. He's like, see you later. He does the cross. Going into the tomb.
Going into the darkness, going into there's no light for him to go into.
Right.
It's like, we're all taught to go into the light. Well,
and who's running him is Christoph from the moon. They're on the moon. The architect's on the moon, telling him, hey man, I got a good life here for you. Why would you want to leave? Which that's the contrast, is that, and I talk about this extensively now, and I had this really aha moment, and I was in tears. I was crying when I had found my personal code that I showed and shared with the world. I became very vulnerable and shared in Prison Planet 2, very, very vulnerable. But that was a very trying moment for me, because I realized, like, if we're headed into the golden age, right? We're in the dark age right now. I mean, that's obvious and apparent. I think everybody would agree on that, watching and listening to this. We're in the dark age right now. So it's rough. It's got a lot of rough edges and razor blades all over the place. But what if we do enter the golden age, and it is cyclical, like I believe it is? Would you come back? We don't know what's beyond this reality. So if you had a choice, and you leave this place, and now you're out in the ether, and you're looking down, and you're like, oh shit, the game restarted. Now we're in the golden age, and you can, use telekinesis powers, and you heal instantly, and there's no suffering. You may decide you want to come back down and play the game again. A lot of people haven't given any thought to that. I know I would. Because I love life. I really do. And we're in the dark age, and we're still enjoying life, guys. Right. So there is. This place is a playground, man, that you guys, the devil's playground. So
we were debating, Nigel and I were, Logan's wrong. We do have a choice. The choice happens one time, when you decide to jump back in or not. Once you're in, that's where the script is already written, and you just got to follow it as it goes, and you can't deviate as much as you try. Even in all the movies, all the time travel movies, what happens? The guy gets in the time machine, he goes, he tries to change something, but what happens? The ultimate ultimate outcome, always the same. You can't alter it. But the only time we have a choice is right in that beginning.
I just want to clear up what you just said, Harry. What Harry was talking about, Logan, where we had that. It wasn't a disagreement. It was you were basically stating at one time that you think that we're trapped in here and we can't actually get out, whereas Harry and I kind of figure, well, I think we can get out of the matrix, and we've spoken to you about that now, and you're kind of leaning more towards, maybe we can. maybe we can. I think it's a case of you know, you're driving down the road, you want to get onto the freeway. Once you hit that on ramp, you ain't getting off. You've got to go the distance.
You got to go.
Yeah, you've got to go the distance.
You got to go. Yeah.
And I truly think that by not going into the light, at the end of this is the way out, if we want to get out. But like, as you rightly said, if we look down and we see that we're in the golden age, then yeah, I would certainly come back for that.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, all we know is this. That's all we know. And everybody, and people are so quick to be like, I'm not coming back. I'm like, well, what if the alternative is shittier than this one? You're going to be coming back. You're going to be biting. And it's, of course, it's not about trying to prove anybody wrong at this point, but it's really about just keep your options open, enjoy the ride, find out what your script is. That's how you become the best version of who you are, is knowing all your surroundings, everybody that you're involved in, all the people that, you know, like I'm into personal development big time. And I bring that into all my readings I do for people. And I'm a huge fan of a lot of personal development coaches. One of them is Jim Rohn. And he said that you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. And if you think about that situation, like who are the 5? I don't even spend time with 5 people. I mean, it's me. I mean, I got Santos right down the street and he's a hermit. I'm a hermit. We don't hang out buddy all the time, you know? So I'm like me, myself and I, but my family's really in the virtual world. Right. But I don't have 5 close people. I don't know if you guys do, but that'll tell you a lot about where you're going. Like the people like doctors hang out with doctors, lawyers hang out with lawyers, you know, and you're going to go where they're going. You're going to probably make the same kind of money they're making because
in reality, in real life, the only people I get to kind of mix with are my students when I'm in class.
All right. So what I want to show you guys is I was mentioning earlier the word cooperation, and we have this contract with God, right? The God, and we cooperate. Well, if you take cooperation and you place it into the Francis Bacon cipher, and it's a very special cipher, those of you that are decoders, and you do it with all capital letters because that's the code for the Vatican, which is called Dog Latin. And that's, of course, your social security name. It's all capital letters. But cooperation, I can't remember what the total numerology was, but it ended up breaking down to the number 2. And this is why it's just comical and it's just funny. And to me, it proves beyond a shadow of a doubt that we are living inside of a scripted reality. So this is the card right here that is tied to the word cooperation. The 2 of hearts, which, you know, you turn outside, now you have duality. And this is the fire suit, which ignites everything. And the card that in the tarot that gives the pictures, because we think in pictures, is that card right there. What does that look like to you guys right there when you're talking about cooperation? Yeah, that right there is, yeah, it's caduceus. Mm-hmm. This card right here is all about agreements. Yeah, it's an agreement card.
There's a deal happening.
Yeah, big deal. Yep. This card right here is tied to the Jorge Bergoglio, the current Pope right now. This card right there. And this card right here in his astrology chart is in his 2nd house, which of course by default is Taurus, the bull. But his astrology chart doesn't have Taurus there. It's moved. He has Aquarius there. Now, what would this card be sitting on the outskirts of his chart if it's in the sign of Aquarius? What does that tell you when you bring these 2 and 2 together and you have a cooperation going on? It's a contract that the Pope and the Vatican has made with the God to enter into the age of Aquarius because it's sitting in his 2nd house. Dude, it's so profound when you start to really look at how these things are. And they're from the devil, of course, because we're the devil. So there is a lot of truth to that. I just find it so comical. But anyway, I wanted to share that with all the audience and your fans and all your great listeners out there from the devil. So big shout out to you guys. Devil's Playground in the house. Big shout out to
you, bro. Big shout out to you. You know, it's funny earlier on when you mentioned about when a song or a movie or something comes into your head. I mean, we just did a podcast called Give Us This Day. And that was a song that you and I were speaking about the other day, Logan, Ultravox, which is ultraviolet, right? Ultraviolet.
Ultraviolet.
And this song just literally popped into my head from nowhere. and I haven't heard this song for got to be 30 years. And I'm walking around the apartment singing it, and I'm, why the fuck am I singing this song? What's going on? So then I followed your advice and decoded it, and yeah, I was crying.
See?
Yeah, it happens. I mean, everything happens for a reason.
Yep.
But they also have that band also has a song called "Dancing with Tears in My Eyes," so that was like profound as well. And it's funny that you and I both know that band pretty well, but a lot of our subs never have heard of this band.
Interesting. Well, the lead, I looked it up. The lead singer's name is John Fox. His real name is John Fox. He has two, either that or he changed his. No, I think he changed his name to John Fox with 2 X's. You know, John, of course, is the number 18, which is linked to the moon card. John the Baptist baptized Jesus. Jesus is 18. John is 18. The moon card is 18. I mean, it's kind of ridiculous when you really look at the cards from the devil and you see the sinks. It's funny.
What's even more ridiculous is that his stage name's Midge Yor.
That's it. Midge
Yor.
Midge Yor is an anagram.
It's an anagram of demiurge.
Demiurge.
You can't make this up. You type in Midge Yor into an anagram solver, and it just comes up with demiurge.
Yeah.
I mean, what the hell?
Yeah. Which, you know, if you take the title, Everything Happens for a Reason. This is such a popular title. A lot of people say it. Everything happens for a reason. People just throw that around and they believe it, right? Most people listening believe everything happens for a reason. If you typed it in the numerology cipher, it's going to give you an output of 113. 113 is the 30th prime number. What is the word demiurge equal in the Chaldean? Frickin' 30, man.
Well, you know the significance of 113 2020, right?
No. What is that?
March 11. It's the day that the thing was announced. Well, they announced it on 113. Well, today is All Hallows Eve, where I am. It's the 30th of October. And from that date last year, Logan, March 11th last year until today is 19 months and 19 days.
Ah, interesting, man.
Oh, yeah.
That's interesting.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what is it called, Harry? It's the Festival of Samain or something. I forget what it is. The day before the 31st, the day before Halloween.
All Saints Day, right? Yeah. The Hallows Eve.
Yeah.
Which is the 30th, right?
There's a name for it too.
Sure.
I think it's Samain. Samain.
Samain. Yeah.
Well, you can't make it up, but from that date last year until today, or today, I know you guys are behind me. Just for those, it's 11 o'clock in the morning, Saturday morning on the 30th. Which means, Harry, it's like 8 o'clock your time, and it's like 6 o'clock Logan's time. But you're both on Friday. So from that date until the 30th is 19 months and 19 days.
Well, it's that this holiday, Halloween, is celebrating the death, the remembrance of all the past saints that have passed on, and this is the card tied to it, which is the mourning card. It's the 5 of Cups, and it's a card of mourning. And this is the card representing today, October 30th, right there. So there's the symbolism.
And there again, you know, what do we say when we get up in the good morning? Good morning. Good morning. MOURNING.
Yeah.
Good morning.
Yeah. Stuff most people don't pay attention to. Yeah.
I mean, hidden in plain sight.
I think we use one word quite often, and I don't know. I'm starting to wonder what it really does mean. The word good. You know, we've been talking about how is there a link between God and good, which I don't think there is. But if you ever ask anyone, how you doing? Oh, I'm doing. The proper way is to say well, but we always say good. And I'm wanting to kind of investigate that word some more.
Let me see what I can come up with here for you guys.
And another one, Harry, that we certainly say a lot in the UK and in Australia is sound. I'm sound. Now, when you think about what Logan talks about in some of his podcasts about the frequency, the sine waves, and
Resonance,
so
resonance.
The resonance, and we talk about somebody being of sound mind, but sound, how are you? I'm sound. There's an etymology to all of this. Kim and I did a podcast the other day, and we were talking about urine. Right. We just went through all the letters of the alphabet and what they kind of represent, what they kind of mean, just for a bit of fun. And when we are making fun of someone, we say we're taking the piss. Why do we say that?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Or piss off.
Piss off. There's got to be a reason. And again, if you look online, I mean, you're going to find a dozen reasons, and probably all of them are nonsense anyway. But it's just these sayings that we take for granted all the time, without actually thinking or even, looking at the etymology or the original.
Well, a lot of the things we say, we talk about them and say them because we're so used to indoctrinated in saying these words, and we really don't know what they mean. Like I think one word in particular, everyone says that's nice. I mean, if you really look back at the origin of the word nice, it's a derogatory term. It's not really good.
No. I wrote one down the other day. Oh, I'll tell you what, I was watching a video just before we came online, and guy was talking about NASA and the space shuttle and all the nonsense that went with it. And where the space shuttle was in its hangar, there was a great big sign across the front, right? Atlantis. And we know it was called the Space Shuttle Atlantis. Well, I've got into this habit now, Logan, of reading words backwards. Mm-hmm. And if you write Atlantis backwards, you get SITN, which is very close to Satan, and LATA, which could be pronounced altar. Mm. So is Atlantis an altar to Satan? Mm. I don't know, just throwing it out there. Mm. SITN, Satan altar. Very, very close to the altar of Satan. Mm. Just saying.
Yeah. Well, the letter S being the 19th letter, it's a battery. It's the sine wave tied to the sun, and tied to Satan, of course. I think people are starting to come around, and they're starting to realize that there's a lot more to the story than just there's a little devil running around trying to tempt you and to really kind of keep you down here in hell, right? And people don't even think this is hell. They think there's a hell beyond this, right? And maybe that is the case, but make no mistake about it. It really, the elements on the periodic table, to me, and everything that I've researched, really is where the truth is going to give its roots. And it's the last element on the periodic table. The last natural element is uranium. That's the last one. Everything else is synthetic past that. And uranium is the letter U, which is the 21st letter in the alphabet. And this right here. This is the 21st card in the deck, the last card in the major arcana. It's the world card. It's got the four faces talked about in Ezekiel 1 verses 10. It's astrology, the four fixed signs of astrology. And this is the hole that we all go down into. And 20, this is 21. Yeah, absolutely. It's the 21. And 21's tied to the number 93 in the string of pi. And that 93 is the 93 million miles away from Earth. But that 93, if you watched my decode on the Trinity, it is the element molybdenum. It has an atomic weight of 93. And that's where I know that, because, life, the universe, everything is 42. Molybdenum is the 42nd element, which is lead. It means molybdos, and it means lead. So it is lead to gold. And I think what people need to start to see is that, the devil is the sun, and what the sun gives off is radiation. And what can cause decay? Radiation. You go out in the sun, you can get skin cancer from radiation poisoning. And radiation, when you do the decay of radium and uranium, it decays down to the last element called lead. Uranium, if you look at the decay rate of these elements, uranium goes all the way down through radium and thorium and polonium, and it goes all the way down and it ends at the element lead. Now, what are the odds of that being the case when we know lead to gold is what alchemy is all about, and we're being mined and harvested for our energetic gold? We are lead. We are the devil, and the lead is 82, and Prison Planet is tied to the number 82 through the string of pi. And that's where the comedy comes in. As you guys know, I Got You, Babe, the song by Sonny Bono in that movie, Groundhog Day, and singing it and telling you straight up that the Matrix has got you. And that's it. And that's the joke. And you're lead. We're lead. We're the little devils. And so the sun is really just radiation. And, you know, I was talking to you about this, Nigel, is that in our homes, we have radon detectors. Well, radon is the 86th element. Radium is the 88th element. And above radium is uranium, the last and very first element before this becomes synthetic. Uranium starts it all, and it's the letter U, the 21st letter in the alphabet, tied to Saturn, tied to the world card, as I mentioned, and the letter U, which is why horseshoes are lucky. People put it over their doors because it's the letter U.
And of course, you've got the connection there to Ray. You've got the connection to the sun god Ra, R-A, which is, you know, R-A-Y is Ray, R-A. You've got the connection to the sun god. You've got the connection to the 88. You've got, you know, somebody was saying the other day, you've got 28 days in a month, in a lunar month. Well, 2-8 could be 2 8s. If you think about it.
Yep.
Yeah, the 2 and the 8 is your 2 8s. But what I want to ask you, Logan, for the benefit of our subs, can you explain your take on the it?
Yeah, of course. Well, if you take just the letters of the it, you have the letter I, which is the 9th letter, and then you have the letter T, which is the 20th letter, and you bring those together and you get 29, and 29 is tied to Yaldabaoth, the Gnostic demiurge. Now, Yaldabaoth could be the herald of them all. It could be running this entire reality through the constructs of the demiurge. The demiurge is going to be one step below the Gnostic demiurge, even though Yaldabaoth is known as the demiurge. Because that character is the 89 in the English, and 89 is a very special number because it's a prime Fibonacci number. It's the 24th prime number, but it's also the 11th Fibonacci number. And 11, as we know, is tied to the element sodium, which is Jesus saying, "Ye are the salt of the earth." And we have sodium, and that's the letter K, and it's tied to Taurus, the bull, and, you know, the constellation Nigel was showing you that stuff. But what's really interesting about the word it is that it's tied to the character Jesus and his twin brother Thomas, because Jesus, the origination of Jesus, forget about the Torah, because people say it's Joshua, but I don't believe Jesus came on the scene until the New Testament, personally. I think the Old Testament and New are completely separate, and there was no Jesus in the Old Testament. Jesus came on the scene in ways made famous in the Greek scriptures, and his name started with the letter I. So you have I, and then his brother was Thomas, and there you have the it. And that's the two fish in the age of Pisces. And I think that's where you get your duality from. I mean, 2 arms, 2 eyes, 2 nostrils, 2 ears, dorsal and ventral root in the brain. It has a Y separation to it. So that's where the it comes in. And so the it, I believe, is the voice in your head that runs you. That's that little voice that's talking right now. That's the it. And Nigel, I shared that scripture with you. Any of you listening, go look up, what scripture was it? It was chapter 51 verses
51:16.
Yeah. What book was it?
I've got it on my phone, right?
Isaiah 51 verses 16, where it says right in that scripture that I am controlling your mouth. I'm putting it in your mouth.
This is the screenshot that you sent me. And I have put my words in thy mouth, and I have covered thy mouth with my hand. Say unto Zion, thou art my people. And that is Isaiah 51:16. Yeah, you sent me that the other night just as you were about to fall asleep. You said it was a download.
Well, I mean, the big takeaway is the 51st element is antimony. If you go to the Royal Society of Chemistry, what is antimony? What are they using for an icon? The freaking all-seeing eye.
And of course you got the 16 reference again, verse 16, and we have that in John 3:16, Revelation 3:16, and what was the other one? There was another one,
Matthew.
3:16 as well. Matthew. Matthew 3:16.
The baptism.
Yeah. Yeah. So you've got the 16 again.
Yep.
In the Isaiah. Yeah.
Yep.
I mean,
That's
it's absolutely insane.
It's insane. Yeah, it's insane. That's sulfur. Nigel, you were talking about, you guys really brought out the whole ox story and how it's tied to the sun and the bull god, tied to the bullseye. And you had mentioned the word oxen. And there are several words you can spell out using the periodic table and the abbreviations of these elements. And you can spell out the word oxen. And of course, it's tied to the seventh element, which is nitrogen, the 54th element, which is xenon, and then the 8th element, which is oxygen. And so the 7 and 8, of course, this is the air we breathe. It's nitrogen and oxygen. Nitrogen is 7, oxygen is 8. Those are the two main elements that we breathe in the air. 99%.
Yeah, which together are 15. 7 and 8 is 15. That's a devil card.
The devil card.
One connection that we missed. I mean, I did put in the show notes that that there were loads of examples that we could have highlighted, but one that jumped out. I think somebody left a comment. A bullet. Yeah. We fire a bullet. You get fired from your job. Yeah, you've got that fire connection again that you were talking about earlier on. But a bull it. The it, the IT, the bull, the it.
Yep.
I mean, I know it's yeah. Again, vowels are all interchangeable. When it comes to pronunciations, you've only got to look at. I mean, people have questioned me on that, and I say, well, go to New Zealand and go to a fish and chip shop, because it's a fush and chup shop. They pronounce fish as fush and chips as chups. Yeah. Right. So when we talk about vowels being interchangeable, they are when it comes to different regional accents. Yeah. Yeah? So bullet, yeah, bullit instead of bullet. Yeah. Even the et, but there's connections in everything.
What about the podcast we did about oxygen in itself? Remember, I brought up the OxyClean product that cleans your clothes. But oxy in the Greek, it's not pronounced that way. It's pronounced ohi, and ohi means no. It means no. So no oxygen means no generation or no generator. So it's telling you that there's the oxygen is really giving you life, but it's also killing you because it's going to oxidize you. So there's a duality in there too, that the guy who generates us is building us up just to use us and then tears us down. Yeah. Then lead to gold and back to lead again, Well,
you take the 7 and you take the 8, and that's the nitrogen and oxygen. Nitrogen, the atomic weight of nitrogen is 14.003, and that's a number anagram of 3.14. And that's the last color of the rainbow. 7, we do the 7 days of the week, 7 colors of the rainbow. 7 is really the last number before we ascend into the number 8. And 8, of course, is the infinity symbol, which is the devil, of course, because it has to run this reality. And of course, what's the weight of oxygen? It's 15. As you guys are saying, it's the devil.
Yeah, well, I mean, something else that's just sprung to mind is when you look at the colors of the rainbow: red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, and violet. I mean, where does indigo come from? I mean, how many times, guys, have you been into a shop to buy a new shirt and thought, I'm gonna buy that indigo colored one? I mean, you just don't, do you?
Yeah.
Insane.
Yeah.
But as you say, it's all connected. I mean, it'd be interesting to see what indigo actually comes out at in the numerology.
I think it's I forgot. I think it's 21.
Oh, that wouldn't surprise me.
21. Yeah, it's 21.
You two ones, two
yeah.
and one, two one.
And of course, it's the 6th color tied to the third eye. The third eye is tied to the hexagon. Hexagon's tied to Saturn.
What do you think? What's your opinion on the third eye, on the so-called pineal gland? Do you think it's a good thing, or do you think it's a trap? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, if you just look at the as above, I think we're kind of, the so below is the chakra points inside the body is the so below. I believe that the planets are the chakras for the cosmos. And so you would have the lineup of the planets inside your body. And so, of course, Saturn, they're saying Saturn is the sixth planet. If that is true, then he would represent the third eye. He would represent the constellation Virgo. And what's interesting about that is Jesus was born of a virgin. So if you line up Jesus' character, he was born of a virgin, that's Virgo. And the opposite house of the sixth house, which is Virgo, is Pisces, and Jesus was a fisher of men. So you have the combination of the virgin and the fisherman. And Jesus said, no one gets to the Father except through me. So that is completely referencing the planet Saturn and it being the third eye.
If we're going to reference the third eye to Saturn, I mean, what would you say to somebody that said, well, Saturn's kind of the bad guy because the Saturn is the Satan, the Saturn day, Saturnalia, all these references to Saturn being the quote unquote bad guy. Yet we look at our opening up third eye as being a positive thing, a beneficial thing. So what would you say to somebody that was arguing that if it's connected to Saturn, then it's a bad thing because Saturn's the bad guy?
Yeah, well, I would then pose the whole conversation of getting into astrology, and if you're a true astrologer, you realize Saturn is not necessarily a bad. I mean, every planet has a pro and con to it in the aspects of astrology, all of the planets. And then you got to figure out what house they're in, and you got defaults and positions. But Saturn is, think about this, man. These, this, and I've referenced this so many times on my podcasts. I've said that, you can imagine that if these planets are the actual chakra points of the cosmos, which I believe that's the case. I believe the entire cosmos, the chakras are the planets. Okay. So the Saturn is the cosmos's third eye. And that's kind of when when you close your eyes, the only thing you're using is your third eye, right? Because you block off the outside world. It gets dark, and then you have no illusions that can come into your eyes when you meditate. And that's why meditation, in my opinion, is such a valuable tool. But Saturn, to me, it's been around for a long time, and the creator, whatever created this reality, and a lot of people think Saturn is that supercomputer. And if and it doesn't have any feelings like we do, right? And it doesn't observe this reality as our reality, as where this is real thing going on. To that reality, it's a theater. It's a Westworld situation. This reality it's looking through a screen, and it's like I'm just watching a movie. So it's not even real. And people say it's in its dream state. It's dreaming all of this stuff up. Right. So it's not real. And then you can imagine how many realities that these planets have been through if they all combine together as one and they form that Voltron, that transformer kind of situation. It's been through countless games and scenarios, and it gets bored. Oh, I'm bored. So it wants some killing. It wants some violence. It wants to start experiencing this craziness in this loony bin. And, let's not forget, we're in the dark age. So when you're in the dark age, things are not the same as when you have a shiny new toy. Like I always use the scenario of the brand new white sneaker. And if you wear it every day, it gets dirty, you spill spaghetti sauce, you take the laces out, you wash them. But over time, those sneakers, you're going to have to throw them away and buy a new pair. That's how our reality works. It's golden age to dark age, and it repeats. It's cycle. And so whatever's running this cosmos, it's been through, think about it, millions of games. How bored do you guys get? Like, we get bored with shit. Like, eat the same food every day, all day, and see how much you're going to like your life. You're going to be irritated. Like, pizza's my favorite food, but I couldn't eat it every day, all day. I would get tired of it. You know what I'm saying? So this reality, to whatever created it, gets bored. It gets bored with it.
Well, yeah. I mean, Harry and I have done a couple of podcasts where we talk about this reality being just a game in an arcade. Right, you've got your higher self that's operating the link to the avatar, which is us, And if you went into an arcade every day of your life, and you played the same game every day, you would become pretty masterful at that game in the end. But then once you've done that, you're going to get bored. You're going to move on to another game because this one is now too easy. You can do it with your eyes closed. You know what I mean? So you're going to move on to another quote unquote game because you're, as you say, you're bored with that one.
Yeah, or wipe it, or you're going to wipe it clean and start over with a brand new game. That's where you get. I mean, look at I decoded the game Minecraft, the most popular game, which is it's a building game, right? And it's the same thing as SimCity. They're called what are the sandbox games, and you're building a simulation. And in those simulations, especially SimCity, you can bring in natural disasters and destroy cities. You can bring in monsters in those games, in the more advanced ones, and have them tear down skyscrapers and kill people. And that's not real to us. It's fake. It's a artificial reality. Well, what's fake to whatever built us? Where it's so below, where it's soap opera, just like the Truman Show showed. They were watching Truman, and at the very end, the comedy was, "Hey, what else is on? Let's put, it was over." So they're like, "Oh, what are we going to watch now?" The Simpsons done it. The Simpsons have come out with an episode on the GOD, and it's just all fractals. And they showed the GOD at the very end, and then beyond that was a little kid in his living room remotely controlling the GOD. Hilarious.
We've seen that countless times in the Twilight Zone episodes as well. But one thing that jumped out to me, Logan, I don't know if you've got any other connections to 102, but if you add the 1937 and 46 together, it adds up to 102.
Yep.
And we know that in reverse that's 201. And we know that's the number of the Jesuits, and we had that event in 2019. Well, the 102, from what we have discerned through our research, the 1812 so-called war was probably around the what we know as the mud flood. 102 years later, you get 1914, and between 1914 and 1918, we had World War One. Which finished in 1918. 102 years later, we're in 2020. So we have reset, potential reset. So we're kind of wondering if the 102, or just to say in reverse, which we know is connected to the Jesuits, 201. Why did they pick that number? Why not, 202 or 198 or whatever? So you've got this 201, 102 connection, 1812. To 1914, to 102 years, then the war to 1918, then 102 years later, you're through to 2020. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, the 102 is a special number. In my first Architect of the Universe Decoded, which is got, it's got over 10,000 views now. I showed with pure math the whole way, the road in circles and the triangles and the cube, the square. Is rhodium, I believe, and rhodium's atomic weight is 102, and that's the 45th element, and that one's very special because it is tied to the 101 as well. Rhodium does have an isotope of 101 as well, so it's tied to that. And I believe that Pandora's boxes is 45, which is rhodium, and rhodium is tied to the Rosicrucians, and that's where it's the flower that gives the bees the honey. So that's the cube that sits in the very dead center, and the cube is the four corners of the earth, which is Saturn's cube, which is what we live in.
Yeah, which it connects to Mecca. The cube. You've got the Rubik's cube. I mean, some of my students are sitting there, and I can take a Rubik's cube and I can mix it all up, and I can give it back to one of my students, and he's there you go, all done, like in like less than a minute. And you think these guys, they must practice for days and days and days just to do something that is completely pointless.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Sure.
We are in a cube. Yeah.
Nigel, didn't you used to solve the Rubik's cube back in the 90s? Oh, come on.
No, never interested me, Harry. I don't know why, but no, I never kind of got. It's the same as video games. I've never ever been into video games.
Well, go back to that question you asked earlier about the third eye. Should we open it or shouldn't we? I think we should, because everything that the world tells us to do is eat bad, drink terrible water, and calcify the thing so it doesn't work.
Yep.
Doesn't that mean we just should do the opposite?
Yep. I think so. I think the third eye is, I think everybody listening to this transmission, you should be meditating every day, and you just do it for 10 minutes, put a timer on your phone, throw some music on, block out the outside world, just listen and observe your thoughts. There's no right or wrong way to do it. Once you start doing it on a habitual mannerism, you'll get really good at it. It's not like a scratch ticket. It doesn't have instant payoff effects, but over the long term, when you're willing to dedicate some of your time every day, 10 minutes to meditation, it will start to pay its dividends, and you'll start to tap into, the voice that is always ruling over you, which is, the tied to if you cut your brain in half, we all know it's the all-seeing eye, which is antimony. Right. That's why they used to put mascara under their eyes. That's the all-seeing eye. That's 51, tied to xenon and tied to chromium, which is the chroma. And where the 24th element is the X, which is the X chromosomes, and the 4 fixed signs of astrology. And those are important because you have the ox, the lion, the eagle, and the man. The ox is 2. The lion is 5. So you have 2 and 5. Then you have the eagle, which is Scorpio, number 8. And then you have Aquarius, which is the man, number 11, which can be a 2. So 2, 5, 8, 11, or 2, 5, 8, 2. Those are the 4 fixed signs. Those are the numbers that sit in the very dead center of your dial pad or calculator. That, as I have shown, is the representation of Earth. 2, 5, 8, and 0 is the middle pillar, and that is the androgynous Earth aspect. And the sun and the moon are representing the pillars 1, 4, 7, and the moon is 3, 6, 9, which is where you get your keys to the universe, which I don't think they're keys. I think they're the trap. But anyway, that's for a different.
Absolutely. Yeah. Right. Well, we've got 4.5 minutes before this is going to kick us out. So one final thing, Logan, I have people, or we have people, when I talk about connecting with your higher self, if that's something that you've never done, somebody who's new to all this, how would you tell them to go about connecting or acknowledging the fact that they have a higher self first, about getting in contact, getting in connection with your higher self, your guardian angel?
Yeah.
What advice would you give?
Great question, Nigel. Well, first and foremost is you need to purify the body as best as you can. So take care of your temple. Keep it as clean as you can. I'm a plant-based eater. I'm not against any kind of specific regimens, but I think that being more plant-based is more alkaline. You want to be in the very dead center. The pH scale tells you blood is between 7.3 to 7.4. That's in between nitrogen and oxygen, which is the air we breathe. All the stuff that satiates us, that's all acid. That's all in the lower chakras, sex and everything that makes your tongue feel good and taste good. That's all in the lower chakras. That's all acid, which is what we're programmed to eat, right? So you got to really moderate what you're eating. Keep your temple clean. Meditate on a daily basis. If you can do sun gazing, you can, tap into the sun. You want to make sure you look that up and learn how to do that. That will, I believe, purify and start to get you tapped in, and then start decoding yourself. That's probably the most important thing, is to figure out what the hell you're doing here, what your birthday means, who your parents are, what your cards are, what your siblings' cards are, what school mascot you had, what hospital were you born in, what's the latitude, longitude of the place you were born in. All these are part of your code. They will tie you to your higher self. And that voice in your head, when it starts to talk to you, you better listen to it instead of just kind of brushing it off. And because you're so used to it, it never shuts up. We're not born to shut that voice off. You can do it, but we're not born to do that. You can't do it. Just trying to stop thinking is making you think. So it's a big contradiction. Like people say, I'm just going to meditate and just focus on my breath. Well, that's you focusing on your breath. That's thinking about you focusing on your breath. So you can't stop thinking. It's not possible to do it. It's just not.
Absolutely.
Like when people say, I'm going to stop eating that food so I can lose weight. Well, the thing you think about the most is that food still. It's not about stopping eating that food.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of it is the magic spells we speak as well. Being a nutritionist, people that reducing weight is a big thing. So people that say, I want to get rid of 20 pounds, stop saying you want to lose weight, because when you lose it, what do you want to do? You want to go find it. So you get rid of it. You want to reduce the weight. I'm going to go reduce the weight. That's a big difference in the magic spells.
I tell people that same thing about losing and finding all the time.
Logan, for the benefit of our guys, tell us how they can get in touch with you, where they can find you.
Yeah, well, Decode Your Reality is my main YouTube channel. My email is decodeyourreality@gmail.com. I will very quickly say that I'm not a fan of email. So if you're going to send me one, Keep them short. I try to respond to all of them, but I'm more onto using voice to text. I have all Signal, WhatsApp, and Telegram. I use all those quite consistently. But yeah, Decode Your Reality. And then my website for readings is called cosmicsugar.org, organization, cosmicsugar.org. That's where you can find me to book a personal reading if you're looking to figure out your code and you want a little bit of a head start. Awesome.
Well, we'll be putting a link to your channel under this one if you reciprocate.
Of course.
With yours.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, we've got a minute left. Anything that you guys want to say before we wrap up?
I was going to ask what was your take on DMT or ayahuasca, real quick.
Yeah, I think they're great tools to use. Ayahuasca is more feminine. Then you can get into the frog medicine as well. Those are good. All those are good. If you can, but you got to be, a lot of people have bad trips because there's a lot of factors that are involved. You may have some toxins. There's certain protocols that you should take on before you get into those, but I think they're all good. Just moderation. Just even with cannabis, people love it, but you can use that too much, I think. So it's just, they're all tools. So
it was fun. Yeah, fun. I appreciate you coming and being on the show. And
absolutely.
Thank you so much for what you do. I appreciate all you both. Okay. So we're blending all these together, ladies and gentlemen. So if we have some brief overlays, that's the reason why. But we're kind of coming to an ending of these transmissions. These fine gentlemen were so gracious enough to have me a part of their show, Devil's Playground. I'm a fan of you guys. And I appreciate all that you guys are doing. Even if we don't agree upon everything, it doesn't matter. Because as I say, you and I and everybody else that is in the decoding world, we're all after the same thing. And that is the absolute truth of what the hell are we doing here? And then maybe how do we get out, right?
Yeah. When I first moved to Australia in 2000, in West Australia, you do a lot of eating outside, right? A lot of barbecues and a lot of outdoor. And you'd have a big party. 30, 40 people. And, what would happen is, let's say the party's at my house. Harry and his wife, they'd bring a plate of sausage rolls, and you and your wife, you bring some cakes or whatever. You bring something for the table. And when you've got all these people coming to a party and laying all this food out on the table, that everybody gets a good feed. And that's how I see us in this community. If you bring something to the table that I don't like, I'm not going to eat it. Well, there's plenty of other stuff there. But if you bring something to the table that I've never tried before, and I'm like, oh, wow, that looks nice. And I taste it and I think that's insane. Fucking hell, bro, that's great. Well, that's how it works with what we're all doing. We've got the same with our subs. You've got the same with yours. We get the comments. We look at the comments. We take on board other people's ideas and suggestions, and that can lead us down various other rabbits holes, not rabbit holes, rabbits holes. We are all bits of Ra's soul. Ra bits, possessive rabbits hole. Yeah, rabbit soul. So yeah, that's how Harry and I see it. We're all bringing something to the table. The only one thing that Harry and I have ever disagreed with you on was the idea that you were under the impression that we can't get out, and we're under the impression that we can. And I think you're more coming around to the possibility now that we can get out. But that was the only thing that we've ever disagreed with you on. Was that, this is it. We're stuck here forever in the recycle trap. Whereas we kind of
the one thing I do like is I like to disagree with some people, because then that gives me an opportunity to see another perspective. And I've seen people not get along and break their ties with others just because they didn't agree with stuff. I would never do that.
No,
I think it's always better to bounce an idea. How many times have Nigel and I had a download off camera, right? When we've done our recording already, and we just blow each other's minds, and then we use that as fuel for the next show, or we get that comment from one of our subs that just gets us going onto a new level. I like to disagree with people, because that just makes it brings me to a point where I can start looking at another perspective. The other thing I always tell Nigel, I was like, When I get a download, I can't even hold it in. I feel like I'm selfish if I hold it in. I need to get it out there and to share it, but I'm never going to tell anyone, this is what you have to think. This is what you have to believe. This is what you have to think as knowledge. Just take it and then sift through it. If it resonates, take it. If not, let it go.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm all about make the truth your own. As you guys know, I've been saying that for, for a long time. And I still stand by that, because there's also a possibility that we're all creating our own fractals. And, you know, what you believe in at the very end of your life and you move on is what the reality is, what you're going to be born into. So there is that possibility. And that's why, you know, if you follow Taoism, they're like, nirvana is stripping away what you believe. And that means when you leave, you're less likely to come into a fresh white piece of paper versus something that's got a jam-packed piece of paper on there where you're just kind of entering into something that's completely chaotic. So there is all those possibilities. And yeah, I mean, you know, there's a great show on Netflix called Dark. I don't know if either one of you have watched that show, if you have Netflix, but that show is one of the reasons why I kind of was alluding to the fact that I don't think you get out of this game. You just get recycled back in. That show was all about just, you know, coming back into the game, playing a different avatar. And, you know, that I'm still like, I'm 50-50. Like, I'm not leaning towards any which one way. Obviously with Prison Planet 2, and I feel like I showed, if you're going to win the game, you need to be neutral. And that means, you know, not participating in all the world events and as little as possible. That's how I feel, because those are energy robbers. Those are the energy vampires, and they don't deserve people's energy, in my opinion, anyway, because they don't give anything back. I realized that with the sports teams I was following for so many years. And I realized, well, wait a minute, I don't have any stock in this team. They don't call me on the phone and say, hey, thanks for watching my game today. You know, I'm not getting any phone call. So it's like, you know, I realized like, it's entertainment. That's great. But I was spending way too much time and giving them my energy, and I got nothing in return. And then it's just all feeding my identity, right? The ego. And you need it, I think, to be who you are and why you're here. So it's a push pull, but at the same time, I think neutrality is where it's at. Just follow nature, pH balance. The blood is 7.3, 7.4. It's in between 7 and 8. And that's, you know, between there is where the sun's pattern is and all that stuff. So that's just what I would just recommend to everybody listening, is just be a layer of neutrality. Don't be attached to the things on the world stage. Don't give these things your energy. Try to detach from the static on the world stage. Raise your frequency by becoming the best version of yourself, by decoding who you are and why you're here, and enjoy the ride, because at the end of the day, that's all you have is the ride. Really.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah,
all right, guys. Well, look, I've got to go. Sadly, I've got to go to a wedding ceremony thing. So
nice. Enjoy yourself.
Yeah, thanks. Look, I mean, you guys can continue. I'll jump out. You guys can wrap it up. So bye from me, guys. Thanks, Logan. Thanks for being with us.
Thanks, Nige.
And
we'll just end it here, man. That's fine. We'll just end it here. Thanks, guys, for having me on. Harry, Nige, it's a pleasure. It's an honor. Much love to you guys, and we'll do this again. We'll definitely do this again for sure.
Thank you.
Without a doubt.
Okay,
right,
guys.
Thanks, guys.
Take care.